We're going to move on to our next guest, Michael Lococo, founder, chief of R&D, and CEO of STEM Implant Technology. Michael, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's funny. I just listened to that last conversation, and it's sort of funneled over into the dental business. Now we have robots that are going to place implants, and I don't believe it either. But it's kind of interesting that led into our show, which is sort of what we're really doing is making human robots. And basically what we've done is we've developed a system that we can identify the substratum in stone when you're doing an implant, and identify the base of the substratum, in other words, the support, and identify it with the point that it's going to make contact with the occlusion. And we put a device in there that as far surpasses what's available to the public right now. It'll be cheaper, it'll be faster, it'll be easier to place, and practically any dentist can do it. It's like chewing gum.
Now, I understand that these are smaller and stronger. Give us the comparison here between what people are living through now with these implants and what the new implants are going to do.
Well, everything evolves, doesn't it? And what's really made it simple in this day and age, and I feel bad for the big companies because they got their money tied up in a sort of an obsolete technology right now. They use milling machines and 4-axis, 5-axis drillers, and now you got this additive manufacturing process. It's the most amazing thing. And what they do is they laser sinter layers of powder, and they can do anything. It's incredible, and that's how they made our implants. And of course, we're dealing with a company in Germany called EOS, and they have a titanium called EOS TI-64, which was biocompatible and endured all the beating we could put on it. And when we placed these implants in rabbits beside conventional implants, we find that they osseointegrated faster. Now, osseointegrate means that the bone formed faster because the channel that we create for these implants is exactly the same size of the entity. But if you can imagine, for example, if you stuck a pole in the ground and tried to turn it, you could because it can rotate. But if you took a pitchfork in the ground and tried to turn it, you couldn't. And that pretty well simulates our implants. Our implants have got roots that are barb locked, and they're like shark lock. And when they go in, they don't come back out. But the test we did in Newark, New Jersey, they're 61% better in resisting side to side, and they're 100% better in resisting rotation. So every force that when you chew, there's forces placed on these implants, and ours can resist it much better than the conventional implant that's out there now.
Yeah, some of the problems that you have with the current implants is they shear off. They'll break, and part of it's still left in your head. Have you been able to get past that one?
Oh yeah. What happens is they see for some reason, I don't know how they ever come up with this one, but they bury the implant, right? They have to bury it because you can't resist forces. So they make a big slash in the skin and they bury it and then sew it up and wait 6 months. Then they do an oscillation test on it to see if it's ready for a tooth. Well, basically they attach the part that goes in your mouth with a screw.
Right.
Sometimes they break. Well, we don't have that. Our implants are all one piece. It's just like a normal tooth, for example. See, our implants are superior in a lot of ways. Number one, they are one piece, right? But number two, which is you probably never thought about this, but the more seams you got in an entity like that, the more places that the bacteria can they grow in the most unbelievable places. And if you got a junction, no matter how small it is, you're going to get the calculus built up, and that precipitates periimplantitis. Ours doesn't have that. And the nice thing about ours, you got to stop and think about this. Your listening audience won't figure this one out by themselves, but most of these implants are on the side of the mountain. It's not put it on a flat surface or on the top of the ridge. So you want to have the sulcus on the tongue side, the same depth as the sulcus on the buccal side, on your cheek side. But if you've got a deep sulcus on the tongue side, for example, now you got to clean that, and if there's a space down there for the bacteria to breed, they will.
I believe that. Now molars, because if you've ever had a molar pulled, it's got 4 prongs on it. So rather than just using one, the multiple prong approach, one set instead of doing it twice, drill it, plant it, and then heal it, and then put the tooth in. Are you saying you've got past that part so that
Oh yeah,
it's
okay. You have a tooth the same day you put it in. These things go in. I put about 100 of them in. I can't put them in people yet, but we put them in rabbits, and we put them in bone. And of course, when we did our tests in Newark, New Jersey, we proved that once you place those implants, they don't move. They are solid as a rock. So you could actually place a tooth in there the day that you put the implant in.
Okay, so I would imagine that this is your baby. This is what you've come up with, right?
Well, you know how I come up with it. I used to play a lot of hockey, and my boss
Lose a lot of teeth.
I was a rink rat, right? And he wanted me to place some implants in them, so I took some courses. This is going back quite a way, maybe 15 years ago. And so he's an elderly gent, and Ross was sitting in the chair, and I'm cranking the implant in. Now, you put him in with a wrench, believe it or not. And I started to hear crack.
Oh!
I said, what the hell am I doing? You know, I said, Ross, I mean, you give me a lot of trouble as a rink rat, but I'm not going to pass this. I undid it, and I sewed him up, and that was it. And that taught me, I want to create a hole the same as the entity, but once I create that hole, I want that hole to retain when I'm putting in there 100%. I don't want any movement because, you know, osteoblasts, those are the things that build bone. They can't hit a moving target. They have to be stabilized. And you know that from fractures. When you go to an orthopedic who you got a fracture, what does he do? He puts in a plate, he puts in a bunch of screws, and he makes sure it's immobilized because you don't want a non-union. You get movement, and like I said, osteoblasts can't hit a moving target, so that's what we've accomplished. Just to recapitulate, this is what we do. We create a hole the same size as the entity. We place the entity into place. Now, what good is a device like that if it's hard to place? No, I've made it so a 5-year-old kid could put them in. In other words, like you were talking about robotics, this is almost human robotics. So basically, they just put a drill in a sleeve and bang, bottom it out. They can't screw up. And then what I really like about it more than anything, it's peer review. The lab technician creates the guided system in accordance with what we've learned through the years and years and years of implantology. We know what works. We know what doesn't work. So the lab technician creates this prior to making the stent. He sends it to the dentist. And the dentist looks at the ensemble, the occlusion, how they bite, and he says, okay, I like it. Go ahead and make the stent.
Michael, well, we got to stop right there for a commercial break. Let's finish that up on the other side of the break, all right?
Sounds like a plan.
We'll be right back. Michael Lococo, Stemmed Implant Technology, founder and chief of R&D and CEO. We'll be right back. You've been listening to CEO Money with Michael Yorba and Ed Baxter, segment brought to you by Tycon Partners. Welcome back to Michael Lococo, Stem Implant Technology, founder, chief, and R&D, chief of R&D and CEO. All right, Michael, when we left off, you were talking to us about how a child could do this. And
it's true. It's true. I shouldn't tell you this, but no, the people that I visited say that you know. Not every dentist has the skill to place a dental implant properly. So if let's put it this way, I try to make it so simple that any dentist, no matter how compromised, like for example, an oral surgeon boasts in our town that don't leave the placement of a dental implant to a general practitioner. You trust an oral surgeon. Well, I made it the exact opposite. You can trust anybody. Because I made it, it's so simple that it's just a case of putting a drill in a sleeve and bottoming it out, and it's guided right from the beginning to the end.
What about from the patient's view? How are they?
Well, it's minimally invasive, right? You take away a third less tissue. You're less traumatic. You're not going to take a wrench and wrench it in there. You just place it gently into place. The nicest thing about this is, you know, implants are expensive. But if you can place one in 10 minutes, you're going to drop the price significantly because everybody's going to be happy.
Whoa. Let me get that straight. There's no knocking you out. There's no being out on the table for 2, 3, 4 hours and then waking up to feel like somebody has been kicking you with a steel-toed boot in the chin. You're telling me this is a 10-minute process?
No, I'm telling you, I think the more the guy does it, the better. You can imagine this now. You've got a dental assistant, and she's got it's a 2-drill system. So the template is already placed in the mouth. The guy's frozen. You stick a drill in the hole, and bang, you bottom it out. And then what? Basically, you hand it back to the girl. She handles you another drill, and I call this the cookie cutter. He just takes a chunk out of the gum the size of the implant. He doesn't go make a big slash. Just like bing. It's like and it's very painless and very clean. Hands it back. You can't widen this bone that fast because bone heated up is you're going to destroy the cells, so you have to do it gradually. And with our system, you irrigate as you widen. So you start with 1.5 millimeters, then you go to 2.5, then you go to 3.5, then you go to the size of the implant. And then what basically we do now is we put in a template and create our first root. And all he does is he takes it, puts it in at 9 o'clock, and bottoms it out. And that bore stays in there. I don't want him searching around for that hole. It stays in there. And now he creates his other bore at 9, 3 and 9. Those are his 2 stems. Takes the one drill out, takes the other drill out, takes the drill jig out, and bango, in goes the implant.
Wow. All right. You mentioned 10 minutes. Cheaper.
Oh, between 10 and 15 minutes. And I think the more the guy does it, and if he's got a skilled team, it might be even less. I don't know. I know it doesn't take me that long but I've been only doing it in dead bone. This is what people should know, is that we're at the clinical testing stage on human beings. We've got a team set up at University of Texas and possibly Cleveland or back in Canada here. And what we're reaching for now is we have to get permission from the regulatory approval groups, either the FDA or Health Canada. Now, they're very, very fussy, and I don't blame them. You just can't allow any Tom, Dick, and Harry to go put something in people. And they're class 1, 2, and 3 devices, and they make sure that their public is safe. You've got to give those people a lot of credit. They're protecting the public, and they're also protecting me. I'm going to jump through whatever hoop they say, and I'll go over whatever hurdle they say to make them happy. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones that say, this is safe.
Where are you on that process?
We're right at the regulatory. I just finished getting off the computer with Health Canada. They gave me a bunch of hurdles to jump over. What I would really like to do is I'd like to hire a professional group. There are professional groups. We have a girl right now in California that's looking at the FDA. She was an FDA employee. She has to be able to satisfy every criteria that they have to make sure that not only is the entity acceptable, but the method of placement is acceptable. In other words, one's a class 1 device, one's a class 2 device, one's a class 3 device, and anything that goes in the mouth, they want to make sure that it's done properly.
What about the difference in cost between the old way and the new way?
Well, I really think it's going to, with additive manufacturing, they pop out 144 of these things like nothing. Like the machine works for overnight, and bango, you got a whole bunch of implants. So the cost per implant, we don't have to go to China to buy them either. You can buy them. There's so many companies in the United States right now, since it's a new let's say technology. They're after me for my business. They said, we'll do this for you, we'll do that for you, whatever you need. And not only can they create the implant, but they can create the tools to place the implant, which is so critically important. So now, if all the price of preparation drops, and the guy can put one in less than 20 minutes, well, the price of the implant's going to drop. That's going to make the patient happy.
Well, 5-to-1 ratio cheaper, or what? I mean, give me a ballpark.
I would say like this is up for grabs because we don't know what the profession is going to charge, right? I can't tell you what Joe Smith is going to charge, is according to the other guy, but it's not regulated like that. So I don't know. For example, when I do a job, let's say I'm extracting a tooth and it's complicated, I get X number of dollars. But if an oral surgeon does it, he gets 2 to 3 times as much because of his knowledge. You pay for what you know.
Michael, we got to go, but before we do, please contact information for our audience to reach out to you.
Yeah, I shall. And I want to really thank you guys and thank your audience. There's only 2 things. If you want to go to my website, you know what it is, www.stemmed.implant.com. And the latest thing is not on there is osseointegration of a 3D stemmed titanium dental implant, published in the European Dental Journal. So it's been fun talking to you.
You too. Thanks, Michael.
Oh, my pleasure. And you stay healthy.
All right, I will. All right, Michael Lococo, Stemmed Implant Technology founder, chief of R&D, and CEO, StemmeDimplant.com.